All right. Well, if we're getting ready to get started here, Trent, you'll hear our intro first, and then do you guys want me to do the intro? I guess I've kind of been the one doing most of the.
It's kind of your thing.
I mean, maybe we should have Jake do it just because it'll be really fucked up and messed up. But Jake,
no, Adam, you can do it. I was good at the schnief, but that has been, we have sunset that. So
that's another T-shirt.
Oh, that is another T-shirt.
All right, are we ready?
We are ready.
All right.
Hey, pass me a beer.
Look, at least promise me you won't drink. Alcohol always leads to trouble.
Hey, who wants to play Drink the Beer?
Right here.
You win.
All right, what do I win?
Another beer.
Just have a cup of coffee.
Bear it is.
Coffee?
Beer.
I'd kill for a beer.
Cheap beer and a sympathetic ear. Step right up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Chad from Bearded Hops Podcast. I'm here with my boys again tonight, Adam and Jakey, down in Bearded Hops South studio.
You do it louder.
My name is Chad.
There we go.
There we go. What's up, boys?
What up?
Hey, Pookie.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good now.
Just great as always.
Good now that we're drinking.
Now that we're drinking, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Jake from State Farm.
I tell you, I won't get into it too much now, but I don't know about this.
You're gonna have
Belgian
a cavity.
red.
You're gonna have a cavity after drinking
It
that.
does. It feels like I'm drinking like a dum sucker.
Just hold on. Just
It's not bad. It's just
hold on. We'll get to the beers here in a second.
Once again, you're shooting your load early, Jake.
Just
It's
story
Jake
of my life.
from State Farm.
try a little tantrig or whatever
Think about baseball.
in your grandma.
Oh boy.
Well, it's over now.
We just
Our very special. Are we?
Go ahead. You're fine. Go
Our
ahead.
very
Don't worry
special
about us.
guest tonight is Trent Snyder, founder and owner of Bridge Up Brewing, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, out of Door County. How you doing tonight, Trent?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us,
man.
Yeah.
Chad, don't go any further because you yell at us every time if we skip the beers.
I was going to go straight to the beers.
He's going to start talking.
We'll go to the beer then.
All right.
Chad.
What do you?
All right. Well, what's before we get going to talking with Trent about his brewery and all the excitement going on up in Door County, let's go around the room and see what everybody's drinking.
Hey,
Oops, wrong button. One beer. There it is.
Adam, what do you got?
What do I have? I have a Noon Whistle Gummy Apocalypse Northeast India Pale Ale. And what I thought was cool about this is that's how the can opens.
Oh, no shit. The whole top opens?
Whole top.
Hey, that would make a good spitter.
Right? Exactly. Whole top
Spitter,
pops.
ashtray. Yeah, I got the whole top off.
So it
Awesome.
is. It's good. It's delicious. Jamie, thanks for bringing the 4-pack over and then leaving it.
Sweet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Looks a little juicy. Is it
Do you still-
kind of a hazy?
It's a hazy. Oh, yeah. I should show you what it Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have to steal one of those from you. That's a
Yeah,
good.
you could, but you might not.
Nice.
But I might.
Jake, what are you drinking? 2 beers.
I have got I had a buddy up in Milwaukee. He brought me back some new Glarus. So I have a Wisconsin Belgian Red. And, it's, I thought this was going to be more like a sort of a standard red ale, maybe amber, which it has about the color of, but.
It's a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, that's probably the best word. That's
Yeah.
even better. Yeah.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, that's
It's
a
kinda
sweet
like
one.
I need to go to my dentist tomorrow. I got a toothache.
I wrapped an airhead around a Jolly Rancher, and then I shoved it in my mouth.
Well,
God, that sounds awesome.
Snort Just get ready later in the show. I'm going to snort pixie sticks.
he's like, "What are you complaining about? What's the big deal?"
No, I mean, it is good. It is. It's just, it's a lot. I'm going to have to go brush my teeth, but it's good. It's good. It's good.
Chad,
3 beers.
I am drinking our home brewed stout. This is our Bearded Hops Flame Out Stout.
man, I have so much of that still. Jake, take
I'll
some
take
home, please,
some of
damn
that.
it.
I need to get some more of it. This is my last bottle.
I'll grab that in the noon whistle.
But we did a really good job here brewing this, just a base stout. It's just a very good
Back, boys.
starter
That
stout.
was the first stout
That was our first
I
stout
had
ever.
ever brewed.
I
Yeah.
thought we did
First stout we ever brewed.
Yeah, we never done
I
that
like,
before.
I like how the head's staying on there as you're twirling it around. That's
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's,
And Trent, it's called Flame Out Stout because
We're born
while we were while we were boiling, we all kind of just standing around talking,
Drinking.
and we drinking, and we noticed there was kind of a change in the noise, or there was no noise. The boil had stopped. The propane tank ran out.
Been there.
They were like, "Oh shit!" So we just called it Flame Out.
That's why we named it Flame Out Stout.
Not sure how long.
And it still turned out delicious.
Yeah, we have no idea how long. I mean, I didn't even take a temperature. I probably should have checked, but we didn't really even know.
You'll never be able to recreate that beer.
Nope.
Right? Yeah.
It's absolute.
Which is the beauty of brewing.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolute one-off.
Yeah.
So Trent, what are you drinking right now?
I'm about to crack open an Archaic Revival from Hinterland.
Oh, I haven't had that one.
Down in Green Bay. It's a limited release. My good friend Nolan, who I work with over at Sunny's, brought it over the other night, and he brought over a lot of beer. We didn't get to all of these, so there was one in the fridge, and I'm about to crack it right now.
Yummy.
We'll let you know how it tastes.
I love the sound of a can cracking open.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, it's
And
nice.
what kind of
IPA,
hazy IPA? Okay.
Hazy IPA.
Yeah, delicious.
What kind of ABV we got there?
Oh,
Trent?
jeez.
I'm just curious.
I'm trying to find it on the can here. They may not believe in letting you know. Maybe they don't care.
It's probably like an 8.
I'd say it's fairly low. I guess around 40.
Oh, for IBUs, you mean?
Yeah.
What's it? It's Hinterland what?
It's called Archaic Revival.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
We got
very smooth.
it's a 7%er.
Yeah, 7%.
Exactly. Oh yeah, 7%. Man, I think I'm drinking some weak ass shit here. I need to crack something else open.
Is that?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like a 7%. It's really smooth, really nice.
Oh, 7% sessionable over here. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Jake's sessions start at about 7, and he'll session at 11 to 13.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm. If we get above like 13, then I'd really start getting excited.
Mm.
Like even this one I brought over tonight that we may crack open
Oh
is
yeah,
only
for sure.
11.
Yeah, Chad, you brought.
Still looks good.
Is this one from St. Louis?
I was at a craft beer store down in St. Louis, and
So it's going to be pretty boring because St. Louis is so boring. But
idiot.
it's a barrel-aged Imperial Stout. Mother's Brewing Company.
Is that what's next?
Well, we got plenty of beers to choose from here. So
Yeah,
Let's see where the
Jake,
night takes us.
Jake. Just for your information, you are drinking a 4% beer.
bitch.
I think I'm getting more sober as I
Look
drink
at
it.
you. You might as well just drink some water there,
Getting
kid.
a sugar high.
Yeah, get a sugar high.
All right. Well, now that we've talked beers, so we'll come back to beers whenever somebody cracks another one open.
Hold on, for the record,
But-
I know that Untapped
here we
doesn't
go.
matter, but Chad, you have had this. You gave it a 4.25. This is considered a fruit beer.
Yeah,
And
I like it.
You said, "Damn, this is delicious."
Yep.
All right, moving on.
I like that one, and their raspberry tart. Their raspberry tart's really good too.
You know, see, I like the tarts. I need a little tart. All right,
You're
done.
a little.
That's
tired.
actually Brittany's go-to from New Glarus is the raspberry tart. Always wants me to buy more.
Jake's picking beard hairs off.
There's a
But
there's
she hasn't
beard hairs
had-
on here. I want a different. Where's my mic? You know, before we started traveling, I knew which one my mic was. Now I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
All right,
Does the muff smell different?
it's a little musty.
Oh,
And there's some
musty muff.
There's some
Musty
long-
muff.
long-
Musty muff.
I won't tell you what I did with that.
There. That's a
What's
great
that, Trent?
beer- That's a great beer name right there.
It's a great beer name.
I like it.
There we go.
Oh,
Well, when we'll get to the part where we talk about brewing with you a little bit later. Maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, perfect for your bachelor party.
man.
Well, as mentioned, we do have Trent Snyder with us tonight for Bridge Up Brewing. Trent, tell us, I guess, a little bit about who you are, and then we can get into talking about your brewery.
Sure. I am, I'm a kind of a journeyman. I've had a couple careers, couple lives, and I'm only 43 years old, but started out as a school teacher at a middle school for 13 years. And that period of my life, that's really when I got started in home brewing.
You had to be the cool school teacher. You had to be the cool school teacher everybody liked.
Were you like the science teacher?
No, I was actually like a literacy teacher, like reading and writing.
Nice.
Cool.
And
So
I coached all sorts of sports. So
you just made Jake really nervous.
oh, I'm not going to correct your grammar.
Well, he's got his headphones off now. He didn't even hear that.
I heard you. Yeah. Only part of my brain works, Trent, so I may just fall over at one point, but go ahead.
By part, he means microscopic portion.
15%.
15, okay, fine.
So yeah, I was a school teacher for 13 years. Got to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I could do this forever. I want to see what else I can do. Got into the IT space. So I worked for an IT consulting firm in Minneapolis for 7 or 8 years. And then I moved back to Door County, which is where I grew up as a young kid. My family owned a small gift shop here, bounced around all over Door County growing up. And now I run a brewery. So life is good. We moved back to Door County and I said, I want to do something that gets me back into the community. That was such an important part of my childhood. And boom, there you go. I'm working at a brewery where I get to see people every day and hopefully make people happy with the beer I'm making.
And how long has the brewery been going?
We served our first beer, I think, on January 3rd of this year. So we're fairly young in comparison.
That's awesome.
Brand spanking new.
Well, what was the lead time to get this thing up and running? How long have you been working on this baby?
I think I met with my business partner, Jason Estes, who owns Sonny's Pizzeria, where our brewery is. I think I met with him in July of 2018, and we decided to go forward with this. And then it was kind of you got to get your various licenses and things like that and get the equipment and figure it all out. And I had to do a bunch of recipe scaling and all sorts of stuff. So it took, before we got our licenses and actually could sell, about, half a year or so.
That's impressive.
Year.
I'm impressed. Wow.
That's not bad. It's pretty quick. And for what you're doing, the way you have your setup, I mean, I know that you've got money tied up in the brewery, but it's not, the scale of this brewery is quite a bit different than some of the other breweries that you typically would go to. So you've got 4 or 5, how many tanks?
As far as fermentation tanks?
Yeah.
We've got 4 1-barrel fermenters and 4 half-barrel fermenters. So we're able to push out about 6 barrels every couple of weeks.
Yeah. So we're talking to, I mean, in a good way, the smallest brewery.
Yeah.
That we've come across, and I think it's awesome.
I was about to say, we went from talking to Lakefront and Central Waters big to the small. It's kind of cool. It'll be interesting to talk to you and get your perspective on things and how it works, everything.
Well, it's fun to talk to somebody too that's closer at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
These guys we've talked to, they're trying to remember stuff they did 20 years ago.
Right, yeah.
So that's awesome.
And I think we're a little bit closer to what you guys are doing in your garages, and it's a lot closer to what I was doing in my garage, which I think is a nice next step for me personally as a brewer. And I don't know if I would want to do it any other way.
Yeah.
Are you are you thinking the scale that you have now is probably, I mean, it's great for where you're at. So you're inside a Sonny's Pizzeria restaurant, which is a fantastic location on the water right there at the Sturgeon Bay Bridge. Yep. And for people who don't know, Wisconsin's Door County is like the little thumb. If you look at Wisconsin, that little thumb that sticks up, that's where Door County is. It's a vacation spot. Very I don't want to say it's very touristy, but it's a tourist location. And your spot in Sonny's really couldn't be any better as far as places in the town of Sturgeon Bay, especially. And you're in the lower level of Sonny's in a fairly small room. How big? We did Trent and I did a brewery tour a few weeks ago, and I just spun around the room, and that was the tour. But I think it's awesome, and you're making some really good beer out of this location.
Thank you.
I mean, everything I've had anyway has been really good. So you started out. What did you start out with? What was your first beer that you put out at Bridge Up Brewing inside Sonny's?
I think it was I'm trying to remember. We've done about 20 different beers now, but I think it was
That's crazy. In that short amount of time, you've done 20 different beers.
Yeah. I think it was our Knee High, which is our cream ale. And we wanted to brew something that was similar to like a Spotted Cow, because at Sonny's, that was our number one seller. And so we wanted to brew something that we knew people were looking for and obviously like the flavor profile. So that was my first task, was to brew something that was similar to that, which was a challenge, because that was a style of beer that I hadn't had a lot of experience with. I would have loved to have started with an IPA, because those are pretty forgiving recipes, and something that I prefer. But I think it was our cream ale that we started with.
Now you said 20 different beers.
Yep.
And you started in January. Well, you served your first one in January. Yep. We're now in mid-June. So 6 months, and you've done 20 different beers.
Yep.
Which, to me, that's pretty fucking awesome, because you're not going to get that type of variety that quickly on a larger scale brewery. Sure. When you've got the size of your brewery, the tanks that you're pushing out, you said 6 barrels every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And the ability to be so flexible in what you decide to brew next is just a matter of cleaning out your tanks and lines and starting something.
Is that the plan, Trent? Yep. To keep mixing it up? Is that part of the plan when you came into this, or do you think it's possible you'll have one that's so popular that you look at making it a seasonal, or maybe even contracting it out as a seasonal thing while you keep working on different stuff there locally?
Yeah, our focus, when we started, was to really be a brewery for Door County.
Okay.
And what that means is, we say we're a brewery for the people. And at the core, what that means is we're a brewery for the people who make Door County their home.
Yeah.
Which is maybe 14,000 people.
So you feel like you're really targeting the local people as opposed to waiting for the summer crowd or something?
Correct. And I think that was really important to me personally, because Door County was such an important part of my life, and it's where I'm making my forever home. So I wanted to brew beer for the people of Door County. Now, that also encapsulates the people that call Door County their home for the summer, for a week out of the year. So really what that means is we want to brew beer that people want to drink. Because at the end of the day, I don't want beer sitting around that's not going to get consumed.
Right.
So that really drives our brewing schedule. And that what that means is I go upstairs and I go up to Sonny's and I talk to people. I ask the servers, hey, who's drinking our beer? I go over to the table, I go over to the bar, and I ask them, what do you think? And get their opinion. Ask them, hey, when you're at home or when you go out to eat, what types of beer do you look for? And that's what we want to brew. It's not about what I want. We're here for the people of Door County.
Now your cream ale, going up against Spotted Cow in Wisconsin is, a cream ale that people are gonna compare it to Spotted Cow, obviously.
Yep.
What has been some feedback from that? People said, yeah, it's really good, or Spotted Cow's better. What are you trying to do?
It's been pretty mixed. That was a really tall task.
Yeah.
To start with, there's a lot of little things that go into making Spotted Cow as popular as it is.
Right.
It's a wonderful beer, and New Glarus is able to do things in the brewing process that I can only dream of doing. Okay, which makes Spotted Cow what it is. But what I did is I took my opinion of Spotted Cow, and I've drank plenty of it, and I said, it gave me an opportunity to kind of make it, improve on things that I wish it had, and take away things that I wish it didn't, and and things like that. And I think for the most part, people have seen all I wanted to have people see is a similarity. Like, oh, yeah, it is kind of like a Spotted Cow.
Right.
We're not as hazy as a Spotted Cow. I'm sure they use different yeast. They obviously use different fermentation process and things like that. But at the end of the day, I wanted something that was approachable to both, to all people, something that's a little sweeter, because it's got a high corn content and things like that. I don't know. I've had people that are like, they take ours and then they order a Spotted Cow, and then they've ordered a Spotted Cow, and I've talked to them and they've ordered ours and they've had a couple of ours, so it's mixed, and that's beer. That's beer for you. Everybody likes something different. It's like chili.
There's always a comparison too. Everybody's comparing.
I love that comp. It's like
chili. I know
that is so true.
Really good. Yeah. Now let's back up a minute. What made you decide? After teaching, after doing IT, like, let's start a brewery. Were you just home brewing and enjoyed that, or?
Yeah, honestly, it's a miraculous story. Like I said, when my wife and family and I made the decision to move back to Door County, which was my home growing up and my wife's home for a week every summer, I said, my wife works for a very really good company, and she's able to work from home. So I was able to really say, I want to do something that gets me back into the community, meeting people, knowing people, interacting with people that live and work in Door County. And I was actually coming back from Green Bay. I'd gone to Costco to pick up stuff for the kids' lunches, and I was driving back, and my realtor called me, who was really one of my only friends up here at the time, and said, my brother, Jason Estes, who owns Sonny's, has a crazy idea. He wants to start a brewery. And I remember that you said that you had home brewed for a lot of years and worked at, done some internship. Can he call you? And I said, yeah, he can call me, And Jason called me a couple of days later, and we had a conversation, and it was very, what's the brewing process look like? What would be the investment to start a brewery? What do you need? How does it work? All this stuff. And it was very, I felt like I was a consultant. After about an hour, and the family's like, why don't you come on down to Sonny's and check out the space that we have? And so we spent about another hour together, and after that face-to-face hour, he's like, I think you're the guy for the job. And I looked at him, and I'm like, what job? He's like, well, I don't know the first thing about brewing beer, and you seem to know a lot about it. I want you to open this brewery, and I want to partner with you, and let's do this thing.
The partnership was born.
There you go.
Yeah, and I looked at him, and he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, wow. Can I call you later? Like,
can I sleep on?
Can I get some time?
I'm thinking, okay, from going from my garage to a somewhat of a production brewery, I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Oh shit.
Were you still working in IT, or had you already?
No, I was working at a company here in Door County.
Okay.
At the time.
Yeah, just picked up something local.
From the move back. It was something to kind of fill the gap and do my part as a husband and a dad.
Right.
But it was amazing doing something like this, whether it was a restaurant or a food truck or something. But it was a wonderful offer. It was a very scary offer.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want an answer now.
Yeah. I came home, and my wife was on a conference call, and I was sitting in her office, and I'm like, just rocking back and forth. And she got off, and I'm like, babe, you're never going to believe this.
The funniest thing happened today, sweetie.
Yeah. I told her, and her reaction really is what sealed the deal. And she's like, isn't this what you wanted?
Awesome.
Isn't this what you talked about doing when you came back to Door County? Think of how many people's lives you're going to touch and interact with.
Wow.
And I'm like, let's do it. It put all my insecurities and questions aside.
Yeah.
And that's what drove it for me is that, hey, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for, regardless of whether I know what the hell I'm doing or not, and whether I can brew good beer or not. Who cares? I'll figure it out.
I love that.
That's kind of how we got started. So it's a really good story, and it's a story that I go back to every day when I'm brewing. I'm like, man, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I don't know if I'm good at it, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll get her done.
Get her done.
Oh, that's awesome. What did you guys just crack open there?
That barrel aged from St. Louis.
Okay.
So I'm not expecting much. It's just from St. Louis. It's going to be pretty boring, but
Matter families? Familias? I don't know. We'll find out. So, Trent, are you able to source some of your materials there locally as well? Have you been able to partner and get some of your ingredients local?
Yeah, and that's a real big part of our brewery is trying to keep things as local as we can. And that's, if you're familiar at all with Door County, it's like we talked about earlier, it's very seasonal. And to make Door County a year-round place, we all got to work together here as business owners and watch each other's backs and help each other out. And I've experienced that. And so as my as my part of this, it's me reaching out to business owners and saying, hey, Lautenbach's Orchards, can I get some cherry juice, apple juice from you? I want to use it in my brewing. Reaching out to people that are growing hops on a small scale.
Yeah.
Just reaching out to restaurants and bars saying, hey, we're opening up a brewery. Do you do any guest taps, that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that, and that's important to us. And that's really why that's why we got our equipment out of Milwaukee. That's why I get all my grains from Chilton. That's what we're all about. And it's really, if it's not the people of Door County, it's the people of Wisconsin that we're trying to work with.
Awesome.
You told me the story about how you got your equipment when I was there. So how did how the equipment come up to Sturgeon Bay from Milwaukee?
Yeah. So, early on, we decided that we needed some equipment, and how this whole thing started is my business partner had been to a convention and seen this, kind of dummy-proof brewing system. It kind of looked like a washer-dryer combo type of a thing. And it was kind of for those people who owned restaurants and wanted to do some brewing. And it was kind of like you dump in, some DME, and you dump in some hops, and then, in a little bit you got beer, and you put it in a plastic fermenter, and, you've got a brewery at your restaurant, and you can make lots of money, and, people will drink your home brew, you're basically your home brew, but at your restaurant, and not knocking home brew, but that's what I did in my garage was, a lot of powders and extracts and things like that.
Yeah.
And, when I took the job, that was the first thing I'm like, I don't know about this. So my business partner said, why don't you fly out to California, check out this company, see what you think. Went out there. I'm like, yeah, it's exactly what you told me it was. And so while I was out there, I visited a few breweries and talked, to a few brewers and told them my story and what we were doing, and got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of like, hey, you can do this type of a thing, and this is the type of equipment that we suggest you look for. And I came back and did some researching and ended up finding Spike Brewing out of Milwaukee, which was they were a home. I don't know if you're familiar with Spike, but they started as a home brewing, like an upscale home brewing company. Some really solid equipment for home brewers. Stuff that I wished I could have afforded had when I was in my garage. So I reached out to them, and luckily the timing was right, and they had really wanted to get into kind of the nano brewing market, and kind of raise the bar for their equipment and make it bigger and better. And they had this one, the biggest equipment they offered was a 1-barrel system. And I'm thinking that's probably a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Not really knowing anything, but I'm like, that's a lot of beer.
That seems right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they offered a 1/2-barrel fermenter, and I'm thinking, I'm doing the math, and these guys were super cool. Everything's made in the United States. They gave me a tour of the facility. I saw guys welding the ports on and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this looks like this is the real deal here, and they weren't hiding anything.
Yeah, good quality stuff right there on display.
Yeah, super, super good, and they're just not holding anything back, not hiding anything. And I came back and I said, I think we got to go with this spike equipment. And my business partner's like, you're brewing the beer, let's do it.
He's like, wait, I could have just sent you to Milwaukee?
To
to go to California.
Exactly. I had a great time out there, by the way. Went to
Yeah.
breweries that I've seen on Instagram. It was awesome. But they've been incredible to work with ever since. And like I said, it's important for us to be as local as we can. The fact that they're 2.5 hours away from me. Anytime I've run into anything that needed fixing or I needed a part, the next day, no questions asked. The customer service is incredible.
That's awesome.
They are, in my opinion, the top level of equipment. Their stainless is real strong. It's real clean. It's beautiful equipment.
Does look very nice.
I love polishing it up. It just shines. And it cleans up really well. Because I'm a messy brewer. Shit's flying everywhere. So it's been a great partnership, and they've been real kind to us. And as we've grown, they've grown with us. We've moved up from half barrel fermenters to full barrel fermenters. As they made those available, we were the first ones on it. And I think and I may be wrong, but I think we're the only brewery using strictly spike brewing equipment anywhere.
Awesome.
Is there a name for your size of brewery? I mean, I know nanos usually thrown around, but sometimes nano breweries get to be fairly decent sized.
Yeah.
They're like, what size is your brewery if you're doing 6 barrels every 2 weeks?
Cute.
Micro nano.
I don't know. I think we still fall in the nano category, but for right now we're right sized.
Yeah,
we're a right sized brewery for what we're trying to do, but definitely some significant growth is necessary in the near future for us.
Yeah.
How far up into what other towns in Door County are you reaching at this point? Are you just in Sturgeon Bay? Are you up in Egg Harbor yet? Or still working on some expansion?
Yeah, we're strictly at Sunny's. We haven't actually there is a place called Heist that just opened up in Sturgeon Bay. It's a really cool spot. It's kind of a collaborative spot. It's kind of a coffee shop during the daytime hours. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, it turns into a very, very cool small plate chef's tasting type restaurant where the chef really only has hot plates to work with. So it's very cool. It's in an old bank building.
Awesome.
Just a really cool place. And I got to know the owner of Heist. He owned a coffee shop up in northern Door County, and he reached out to me just because we're literally 2 blocks from where they are, and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to brew us a house beer," because they're focusing on having some really quality beers to kind of pair with the food that they're doing. The owner of Heist was kind of a beer guy for a couple beer places across the state. So he knows his beer, and he really wanted us to brew him something that he could have for a house beer. So that's really the only other place that we are right now. But have had a lot of people reach out saying, "Hey, can we have your stuff as a guest tap?" And I've told them probably next year at this time would be a better time for us. We're really struggling to keep beer on tap at Sonny's right now.
So it's just running out as soon as it's ready right now, pretty much.
Yeah, we've got some beers, that really last a weekend sometimes.
Yeah,
that's a good problem.
That's a great problem to have. Yeah.
It is a great problem to have, but it's an extremely scary problem to have. I don't want to be the only brewery to not have any beer.
Not have your we're a brewery, but sorry, we're out of beer.
Now, is there any good brewery festivals or craft beer festivals in Door County over the summer that you could hop over and show off some of your stuff at?
Yeah, there are actually, and actually on this Saturday, the 15th, there's a beer fest in Bailey's Harbor.
Okay.
Which is, it's grown over the years, but I think there's about 45 breweries represented in 150 different craft beers.
Nice.
This Saturday up there in Bailey's Harbor. And then there's one in Egg Harbor, I think, in the fall. And then there's a couple down in Green Bay as well. So there's, it's Door County's, steadily becoming a, kind of a craft beer area, which is really exciting.
It makes sense though, right? I mean, it's kind of like the right area. There's a lot of good restaurants. There's a lot of sort of this outdoorsy hiking parks, some golf up there, these farms you can check out, cherries, all that stuff. So it kind of makes sense to me that it'd be a place where you could kind of cultivate a craft beer, following.
No doubt about it. And it's exciting, and, as different breweries pop up, people are like, oh, that's competition. And, I don't think, me personally, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I don't think there's too many people that look at it as competition up here. I think it just helps Door County in general.
Right now, it might help just drive more people there to make that shift.
Yeah, it becomes a destination for a lot of years. There was, the winery, the winery tour.
Yeah,
that's all it was. Yep.
I've always loved Door County Distillery.
I think we're about 2 breweries away from being able to put together kind of a brewery tour.
Well, you've got this is an interesting point too. One Barrel, they're out of Madison. They just opened their facility in Egg Harbor.
Yep.
So you've got if I'm not mistaken, if we don't count the cidery Orchard,
Island Orchard.
Yeah, Island Orchard. If you don't count them, you've got there's 4 breweries, right, in Door County. Is there 5?
Yeah,
and there's 8 wineries. So
yeah, we're close.
Yeah.
I'd say we're there. Let's get the bus.
To me,
That's enough for me.
Brought to you by Beater.
You just lump them together, and then it quickly becomes a
to the Bearded Hops bus.
It's kind of a husband and wife deal. You hop on a trolley and you go, and
I love
this time you're at a brewery, this time you're at a winery, then you're at a brewery, then you're at a winery. I think it's just.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's incredible.
Or you form 2 lines. All the women get on the winery bus. All the men get on the brewery bus. I'll see you later, honey.
And you come back together completely drunk.
I love you.
I love you.
Yeah, that could be a great evening.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We got along so well.
I'd want to go to all of them though. I mean, I'm a wine drinker too, so I don't know if I'd be able to split that line. I'd have to hit them all.
You just go through it twice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You just got to run it.
And there's some great wineries up here. Very good.
Wineries, you got craft distilleries up there now. It's I love Door County. Yeah, I never went there until I was an adult, but my wife, her family grew
when did
up.
that happen?
I'm still working on it. Shut up.
Say.
Fuck yourself. My wife's family's been going there since she was a kid, and fast forward to 5-7 years ago, my in-laws bought a place in Sister Bay, and we go there. We try to get up there at least a couple times a year. I love Door County. I'm usually kind of a Wisconsin. I like talking smack, but I love me some DC.
I've never been. So
yeah, this podcast is a little bit. This one's a little closer to home than I think most podcasts we've done, especially for me and Jake. I know Adams has yet to get up to Door County, but you'll love it when you get up there.
I can't wait to stop by see you, Trent. Do you have an area there separate of the restaurant where it's if I just want to come and drink beer?
Yeah, and currently, no. The answer to that is no. But like,
yeah, no.
yes, and no. We have a tiki bar, which is outside,
Okay.
which is close to the marina.
I can work with that.
Which is nice. It's a nice area. You got some.
That's my special place.
Standard patio furniture. You can get 3 of our beers out there. Your typical tiki drinks in a bucket or a bowl or whatever they serve them in.
Mm-hmm. Coconut.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful view, beautiful boats, but no tap room per se.
Okay.
But like I said, we've submitted plans to the state, and it's just a matter of time until our tap room is done, which would be right adjacent to where I'm brewing right now.
Would it be? Is that an addition connected, or would that be a separate building of where you're brewing right now?
No, it would be a redevelopment of a current space.
Okay, nice.
It'll be a fantastic spot, especially in the evenings. And I know, Trent, when I saw you last week up there, as we were both watching that sunset, and when you were leaving with your family, and you said, "I always tell people I've got a viewery, not a brewery."
Viewery, that's good.
But where you're talking about where your tap room will be is going to have those windows right on the west side there.
Yep.
It's going to be an amazing spot, and there's a great outdoor space there too.
Will that allow for any more expansion into the space that you have to do the brewing? Will that allow for any more production, or is it just simply
there's definitely a space we're looking at in making an investment into a 5 or a 7 barrel system.
Okay, nice.
As well, to go along with the brewing space, which would allow us to accommodate those requests from those restaurants and bars up in northern Door County that have asked, "Hey, can we get those guest taps from you guys?"
Awesome.
Now, how many people you have working with you? Is it just you doing all the brewing, everything?
It's just me. Yeah, it's a one-man show right now. So I do all the brewing, all the cleaning, all the keg cleaning, all the carbonating, all the kegging, all the social media.
Did I see on
marketing,
Facebook?
Yeah.
Were you canning or labeling cans too?
Yeah. We're rolling out our Crowler cans hopefully this weekend for Father's Day. I don't know if you heard those sirens.
Coming to get you. Gotta go.
They stopped when they went by your house.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Peeking through. Like, wait a second.
But yeah, so we're rolling out some Crowler cans. So I'm even in my kitchen on my island labeling my own Crowler cans.
Are those the first Crowler cans?
Those are those are the first 127 that we got.
Now you need to do like Central Waters did. They said back in the day when they would do them by hand, they'd do every few upside down.
Yeah,
just
they
for
would
the hell
mess
of
around
it.
with them every once in a while.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. They label things upside down.
That's where people were like, "I got the golden ticket.
I got the special can. What do I get?"
That's a great idea. My wife was keeping tabs on me because, of course, as I'm doing it, I'm drinking beers, and she's like, "That one's backwards." I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
It's a special one.
When are the Crowlers going to be available?
Yeah, what's going in there?
We're hoping this weekend. We're hoping to be able to offer this for Father's Day gifts and things like that. We're waiting on our CO2 line to be run to our CO2 purge tower. But even if we don't get that, I think I'm just going to pull beers and fill them without it.
What are you filling in there? Do you know? Have you picked the beer?
We're gonna fill whatever we got on tap.
Oh, nice.
We've got we got 5 beers on tap right now, so it's going to be one of those things. If somebody has a beer they like and they want it canned, we'll do it right at the bar for them.
Oh, you can do it right at the bar.
Oh, that's great. Nice. So you just carry it out right there if you like it. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
So nice segue into what you have available. So you've done 20, but what's your current lineup?
Right now on tap at the bar inside Sonny's, we've got our Driftwood IPA, which we just tapped today. We've got our Escarpment, which is a Citra Pale Ale. We've got our 1851, which is a Zwickel Lager. We've got our Knee High, which is a cream ale. And I'm trying to think of
Is
what
the cherry Goza still on?
Gosa is not on upstairs, but I think it's still on at the Tiki Bar. I'm trying to think of what that other one is upstairs.
Where you can find Chad.
Oh, it's the it's the Not Quite Right pale ale. We called it Not Quite Right because it didn't turn out exactly what I was hoping for, but it still turned out really good. So you put it on anyways.
We're totally like a lesser version of you. We got to come brew with you. That's like every time we brew.
What was it? One?
Just, I had great visions. I got some really cool. I used Mandarina Bavaria hops, which was supposed to be really soft and peachy and tropical. And so I put together this recipe that I thought was just going to be dynamite, and it just didn't come out the way I had hoped. It still turned out great. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't put it on if it wasn't a good beer. But everybody's like, what? For a while, we just had session pale ale. Because first of all, it came in under ABV, what I was shooting for. So I called it a session pale ale, and that's what the signs, the little tag underneath our tap line said.
Use what you got. You could even go into this is like a 105 calorie.
It was delicious, but just not what I wanted. What I was shooting for. So today, our front of the house manager's like, "What are we going to call this thing? You can't just call it session pale ale." And I'm like, it just wasn't quite right. And he's like, how about it wasn't quite right? And I'm like,
he's like, perfect. You're a genius, Trent. You're like,
and we wanted to stay with like Door County nautical water. So we called it Not Quite Right. And we did KNOT.
Love it.
Not like a sailor's knot or, what the knot you would use to tie your boat to a slip. So, it's just, we don't have any ego, and it's my way of saying, hey, I screwed up, but it still turned out good.
Yeah.
And it may prevent people from trying it because they're like, what the hell is that name?
Not quite right.
I'd definitely try it.
Yeah, I'll try it on Saturday. I'm going to be up there. So
Trent, I'll tell you, I got a comment and I got a question. My comment is, if you can anything, and on that can, you can can anything. If you put a boat on that can, Chad will buy it. He loves anything with a boat on it,
and he'll keep the can.
He'll keep the can. Yes,
I got a line of cans up there that are all boat or nautical.
Awesome! I'm a tremendous artist.
And if there's a boat on it with a nautical name, he will blow. You'll have a mess at the Tiki Bar. But what I was gonna ask you is, has there?
I like how you tried to censor yourself for a second. You're like,
yeah, you're like, why don't you say it?
I actually have I have 3 questions actually. I'm curious, what's the highest ABV you've put out to your customers? I'm curious if you've put one out that you weren't sure if people would like, and they loved it. And I'm curious if you've had to just flat out dump one.
Yep. Let's talk about the dump one. I did a stout. I tried to do a milk stout.
Okay.
That just, I think it was just a style that I was unfamiliar with. And I think if I would have just stuck with it longer, it would have turned out just fine. But because I was unfamiliar with that style during the fermentation process, as you're kind of trying it and seeing what's going on in there, it just, at one point I'm like, this is jacked up. I'm not, and because I don't have time to waste, I'm just not going to waste any more time on this.
Mm-hmm.
It was slow to ferment to start. And I'm just like, this is just jacked up. I dumped it, and I probably shouldn't have, because it probably would have turned out just fine. The highest ABV beer that we put out is our Small Craft Advisory, which is a double pale ale. Comes in at about a 7.1, between a 7.1 and a 7.5, depending. It's right in there. I've brewed it a couple times, and it just seems to change, which is the beauty of the small amount of beer that we're brewing. It changes all the time. And then I forgot
my last question. Did you put any out that like you knew it was good enough to put out, but you just weren't quite sure if it was going to be popular, and it just like they drank it in a day or two, and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Like people thought it was better than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, basically.
Right?
I think that's our brown ale. We call it our 42-pound brown. which is the record brown trout up here in Door County.
Mm-hmm.
A brown ale, when you go to the liquor store, there's not a lot of them out there.
No.
And it's kind of that obscure style. And a lot of people have expectations of what they want it to be, or what they're expecting. So I was really nervous to push that one out because I brewed it to be the way I thought a brown should be, and it really took off. It really sold well.
I had it. I thought it was really good. I think I rated it quite well on Untappd, which I've added several beers up to Untappd for you. I don't know if you know that or not, but
Appreciate that.
Is a brown ale? I don't know the history of a brown ale. Is that more of a European style? Because I feel like I've been to Europe a few times, and I feel like they're fairly common over there versus over here.
You think about the brown ales that are available, readily available at your local liquor stores, and it seems very European. Maybe it is. I don't know too much about that style. I just knew that I wanted something that kind of bridged the gap between a stout porter, and like a red. I wanted a little bit heavier or whatever, and I just thought a brown was nice, and it ended up turning out pretty nice.
Now, what's the style you see everybody going to? Is it still IPA, or is it?
People asking you where's your hazy or your sour?
Where's your New England?
Where's your
juice?
We don't get a lot of that. It's just where we're at. It's a lot of on the lighter end.
Right.
It's the lighter. It's that gateway. It's that gateway craft beer.
What do you have that's like Miller Lite?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light, whatever, because it's very popular up here.
Yep.
And that's what people are used to. So I wanted to brew something that was, that would be that gateway to craft brewing for them.
So brown ales originated in England in the late 17th century. They varied in strength. They were lightly hopped and brewed mostly from brown malt.
Thank you, Mr. Google.
I just thought I'd the more
little
you know.
Education.
There it is.
Education part over.
You had, a lot of your beers are Door County. Most of them are Door County themed.
Yep.
But I don't know what the story is on the 1851 Zwickau Lager.
So 1851 was the year that Door County was founded.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And that's been the fun part for me is getting creative with the names. And there's Door County, there's a lot going on here. So the names are endless.
Yeah.
But it's important to kind of match the name with the style and with the flavor profile of the beer. So that's been that's the best part is naming the beer for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I could tell you guys you get creative with your beer names. I like tan lines. That's one of my favorite things in the world.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
Is it a blonde ale or what is it?
It is a blonde ale, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think it'd be.
Nice. Nice.
Perfect name then.
Yep.
Absolutely. If you can guess the style just off the name. Perfect.
Yep.
That was my first Bridge Up Brewing beer was Tan Lines. First one I drank.
And it had to have been the name that drew you in.
Well, of course. That's, like I said, it's one of my favorite things in the world. So
Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
It's a nice tan line.
Well, when I walked into Sonny's, everybody, guys, people who listen to the podcast know my boat's up there. So I had put my boat in that weekend, and I walked into Sonny's for lunch, and I saw on the front door there was a sign out front that said brewery now open or something like that, or maybe it said Bridge Up Brewing or something like that. And I walked in, I go up to the bar and sit down and get to talking with the bartender there, who's I got to know he's Kenny.
Yep.
And
Chad, did you know this place before? Had you been there, or were you just looking for a place for lunch?
No, I've been to Sunny several times.
Okay.
We've stopped there a bunch.
Yeah.
Passing. We didn't really stop in Sturgeon Bay a whole lot the last few years, but that was always there's always a few places in Sturgeon Bay that are fun to stop at, and Sunny's has been a regular stop for the last several years. So I knew that's where I was going to eat lunch, and then I saw that there was a brewery, and I'm like, oh no shit, this is interesting. And so
was Brent with you?
No, this was the weekend that I launched the boat. So I was up there by myself, and just sitting at the bar drinking by myself. And I, of course, I inquired about Bridge Up Brewing right away, and Kenny got me a flight, and we started talking about craft beer. And I told him about the podcast, and he says, "You got to meet Trent." So I thought that was kind of cool too, because I just was hanging out there, and Trent, you came upstairs and kind of started looking around, and it was one of those things where, like, I don't think anybody even pointed me out to you, but I think we kind of just looked like you were across the bar, and you were like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Yeah, hey, are you the?" Yeah, I'm the
Their eyes locked from across the room.
Eyes locked.
And that's kind of my deal. Is I like to stop in when hopefully people are upstairs drinking our beer, so I can interact and find out how things are going. So I was out and about doing some errands, and I thought I'd just swing in and just see if there was anybody around. And at that time, it was kind of a slower time of the season up here. And
it was May, the weekend of May 10th, so it was before anybody anything really started.
Right, and I just I kind of looked at you. You get the beard. You had a hat on.
Did he wink at you? Did he give you the eyes? Did he wink?
Talking about and that's kind of how it started. And then you and I, went down, and I showed you the brewing space and stuff like that. So very, very organic.
He winked at you, didn't he? He gave you those eyes. Those.
I batted the
those
eyelashes.
Chad eyes.
Those Chad puppy eyes.
Yeah. There was definitely something about him.
Yeah. Usually, the something about him people say is the smell, but
this guy's creepy.
This creepy dude over here at the bar.
That's awesome.
I was the only. Well, there were, I think, maybe 2 or 3 other guys there, but it was not busy at all.
It was easy. It was easy pickings.
He picked you.
That guy right there.
Do you have a favorite beer of yours out of the 20 or so that you've brewed?
Oh man, I would. Whew. Boy, I'm kind of partial to our cherry Gosa, just because
that's a good one.
Yeah, I think a Gosa is a style that just isn't readily available right now, and just isn't something that people know a lot about. And it's a relatively easy style to brew if you can dial the salt in correctly. But the beauty of a Gosa is it takes fruit really well, and that's what Door County is known for, is its cherries and its apples.
Yep.
So I think with the addition of the Lautenbach's tart cherry juice that we put in there, it just really is kind of the perfect combination of salty, sour, tart. It's kind of got a beautiful color to it. It's kind of a pink hue. It carbs up really nice, so it's got lots of little bubbles in it. It's not overcarb, but not undercarb. It's just kind of to me,
super smooth.
Yeah, it's just kind of a perfect beer. And Door County is kind of a summertime place. That's where we make our haze in the summertime up in Door County, and I just feel like it's one of those. You're on the boat, you're on the golf course, you've been outside working in the fields all day. You just want to crank a few freaking delicious beers. That Gosa is kind of the go-to. So I think that's probably my favorite one so far.
Trent, when you guys get in the new space, do you think you'll attempt to provide more canning for carryout? Is this just something that you only have the capability to do for fun once in a while, or is that a plan to provide more carryout options?
Yeah, our plan right now is to have a cooler up by our hostess station in the restaurant, stocked with every beer that we have currently on tap. It's going to be somebody's job to come in and can X amount of beers every day,
Got
so that they're ready to grab and go. But we also want to be able to can it right there, when someone requests something, because it's kind of a cool. It's there's a show about it.
I love that idea.
You're seeing it.
That's awesome.
Like when they mix the salad at your table. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know what I'm talking about. Well, or like, okay, maybe that was a bad.
Yeah, that was bad. Don't compare salad to beer.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, he's right. There's like how many places have you walked into where you're like, you know what, we'll can this right here for you? Nowhere.
Yep.
No, I don't know of any place.
There's places where they might say, okay, we have these 3 things that you can get a growler or whatever of, or a howler or whatever it is. But there's no place like, I love this so much. Okay, let's can it up for you. You do a table side even. I mean, I'd be like, honey, excuse me, I'm watching this.
Yeah, yeah. And the only reason we have the cooler of it is because hopefully you guys will come up this summer and see Sonny's.
Be there this summer.
But it can get pretty busy. Like hour and a half wait, and if it's that busy, everybody's standing in the bar. I don't want to put that pressure on our bar staff to sit there and can a beer, for somebody. So it's just that grab and go option is available for those situations. Or when somebody's going out on their boat, someone's going to the golf course, they can just run up, grab a couple beers, pay for them, and bust out.
Trent, how many days a week are you there now? Like, if we're passing through and we want to see the man, like, is there better days that we might have a chance at catching you?
I'm there Monday through Friday, guaranteed 8:15 to 4.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays and Sundays as needed for things like carving, kegging, checking the ice levels in our coolers, for cooling the fermenters, things like that. I try not to be there on the weekends because to me that's I've got two young daughters and a wife. That's family time.
Yep.
For me, but beer has its own mind of its own. So I typically try to get up at I always have to go and ice the coolers down because we have a very manual cooling and heating process of our fermenters. So Saturday, Sunday mornings, I'm there at 6 a.m. icing those coolers down, and then I'm back by 7 so I can, bring my wife a coffee, that sort of thing. But I try to make it as 9 to 5 Monday through Friday as I can, and maybe that's the corporate America in me that I had for 7 years. But
yeah, nice.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got a young family, so you got to balance it. I mean, there's just no question. You can't spend 70 hours a week at the brewery and expect to have a decent family. So
correct, and I easily could. There's always something.
Oh yeah.
There's some Mondays where I brew a beer, do a yeast dump and cold crash a beer while and I got to move the beer that I had carving, and I got a keg of beer, and then I got 8 kegs to clean. That's just kind of the way it goes. Sometimes it all piles up.
Is there a threshold you have with your partner where you guys kind of have a plan if we get to this point, like, or maybe it comes with the expansion, hopefully next year maybe, where you're going to say, okay, now I'm hiring somebody to do some of this or work some of the times I'm not
bitch
there.
Work?
Yeah, like the stuff that you can do in your sleep, but it's just manual and it needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think the beauty, yes, that conversation we've had that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
And my business partner is very in tune with what's going on in my world, and wants me to be as calm, cool, and collective as I possibly can be. So we've had that conversation, but there's the beauty of having a brewery and a restaurant is there's always staff that have some free time.
Sure.
I think at some point, if I were to say, I've got a guy that works there named Nolan who's very interested in what's going on.
Start mentoring somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. He's very, I'm out of town. Hey, Nolan, can you ice the coolers down? Hey, Nolan, can you move this fermenter into the cooler for a cold crash? He's like, yes. He's always stopping in when he can. Hey, what are you doing? He would be a perfect candidate, to break off from what he's doing in the kitchen at Sonny's to help me, do some of those things, because he has a genuine interest in it. and he's gonna take the time and care that's needed to do those things.
Yeah. Younger kid, like 20s or something?
Yeah, younger than me. No, he's probably, I'd say mid-30s.
Yeah. I wish
But
I was working somewhere where I can just do,
but
learn the ropes. Oh, man.
yeah, but a curious,
That'd
but
be
a
fun.
curious guy by nature.
Yeah.
Like me, has kind of led a couple different lives in
Sure.
his short existence. So just genuinely inquisitive and definitely a beer guy. Loves craft beer, and for him to have all of a sudden a craft brewery in his workspace, it's just probably maybe like, whoa, this is awesome.
Just like chatting at the tiki bar. Wait a minute, there's craft beer here?
Yeah.
Wait a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, where
Wait
I'll
a
be.
tiki.
So getting a new brewery up and running obviously takes a lot of work. You are up and running. What happens if the wife says, we really need to take a vacation?
Ooh.
Is that off the table right now? Just or would you shut down to take the family on a vacation?
Shit,
How does
we
that
need to
work?
go to Disney World, or I don't know what it is.
Ew,
but-
yeah. Don't go to Disney.
That's
I don't
a great question, and I think
Shut up.
Disney sucks.
I think I
Evil mouse.
I owe a lot to my business partner to say to my wife, yes, definitely we need to take a vacation. Let me talk to Jason and see when the best time would be, coupled with the fact that we're a very seasonal location.
Yeah, you probably maybe could shut down.
Yeah, there's definitely
fall or something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a busy season and not such a busy season where I think I could steal away for a little bit. And I think, currently and hopefully in the future, we'll have the capacity to push out the volume where I could really crank hard for 2-3 weeks to get set up to be able to do that. And I think that would be that's my duty as an employee. That's the responsible thing to do. Work my ass off for 2-3 weeks so that I can feel good about taking a week with my family.
Yeah.
And not really skip a beat. With the beer. I think it's very doable. And it's just the beauty of A, who my business partner is, and B, where we live, and C, who my wife is. Very,
Right.
very understanding woman.
Key.
Definitely a big part of it. Yeah, the where you're at, I think is one of those keys that you just mentioned there, where someone else downstate or anywhere else really that's not a seasonal vacation spot would not be able to do what you're doing and have the ability to still have the family time. And you're just in a perfect spot, I think, for operating the brewery at the size that you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I appreciate you saying that.
Now, was there anything, before you were home brewing stuff, is there anything that, now that you've been brewing on the professional level, I guess we'll say, commercial level, that you weren't expecting? You're like, oh shit, wait, what? Is there anything that surprised you along the way, going from the garage to,
I think, I totally get your question. I think there's a couple of them. One, just how challenging home brewing really is. I've got the luxury of having a beautiful brewing system that's all electric. I can dial in my temperatures the right way. I can be very consistent, and it's really helped me appreciate the fact that I brewed some pretty freaking good beer in my freaking garage. With way less than I have today. I think that's one. And just how forgiving beer can be, but also how tough beer can be. It's forgiving from the grain side, and it's can be a complete butthole from the because a lot of the recipes that I'm pushing out are just variations of what I feel I kind of did really well out of my garage. Just what my comfort level is, and then everything else is kind of a variation or a break off of those recipes. Hops are really volatile and just really tough to work with when you're scaling, and maybe that's just my lack of knowledge and lack of experience and understanding of how hops work and things like that. But I found that the grains are very linear from a scaling perspective, and you can do without. If you're short a pound of this, that's okay. Not a big deal. You're not going to notice a big change, but you add a half an ounce too much or half an ounce too little of a hop, and you've got a completely different beer, which has been a real opener for me.
Now, with the scaling up,
wow, that's great.
How difficult has that been? Taking those recipes maybe you used before, now you got to scale them up so much from whatever you're the 5 gallons in the garage,
5 to 30 gallons. Yeah.
I mean, how difficult is it to scale that up? Was it a lot of just?
You just got like a whiteboard with a bunch of crazy ass math on it. You're just like,
or you're just brewing it, tasting it, going, oh shit, and then brewing it again. And
there's been a bunch of things. There's a lot of good brewing software out there, and I won't mention any names just because I don't know how that works. But there's some good brewing software that has been a real help. The internet is a wonderful thing, and I'm not afraid to say that I Google stuff all the time because I don't know everything. I compared to other breweries, I know very little probably. So I'm Googling stuff all the time, and I have a wife who's very analytical and who works with numbers and forecasting and things like that for a living. So she's been a great help to me when I bring recipes and say, hey, does this seem right to you? Like this doesn't seem quite right to me. Does this seem right to you? So it's just been a combination of things, and it is a challenge, and I think that maybe that's why I feel so good when a beer actually turns out well, because it's almost like I feel like it's almost like having a baby, and I'm not a woman, but I feel like it's I have 2 kids. So when you have a baby, it's amazing that they come out like normal, because there's like so much stuff that can go wrong. It's like 9 months in there and you have no idea what's going on. It's like beer in a fermenter. You're like knocking on there, you're reading it, you're talking nicely to it, like, hey, it just really wants to turn out well.
Please be tasty.
Nice wort. Be a good wort.
Yes. I'm warming you. I'm cooling you.
There's some relief when that comes out and it's good and you're moving on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I take a lot of very good notes, because no beer is the same, and so I've got if you look at my brewery, I got Post-it notes stuck everywhere. I'm lucky that I've got a family member that works for 3M. I've got these really great industrial like sticky Post-its that freaking stick to everything, and they're all over the place. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine it's kind of like when we brew a home beer, we crack it open for the first time, we're like, well, it doesn't taste like shit.
It's even before that, just when we're like, when we smell it, we're like, well, it doesn't smell like shit.
Nobody got hurt this
and
time.
that's why
nobody got hurt this time.
When we did the burnout, I was like, this smells good. I think we're okay. Have you felt like, Trent, though, that your knowledge is just and your ability with this venture has just been exploding? Does it feel like you're taking big steps in what you're able to do, or do you feel like it's sort of a slow process learning the ropes here of running your own brewery?
No, I feel it's very exponential.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, because you run into a new issue every day, whether it's small or large, and it forces you to go and figure out the answer or the solution to that problem. Whereas a home brewer, you can live with a marginal beer. You can, the investment in a shitty beer is minimal, but I'm responsible to not only my business partner and to Sonny's Pizzeria, where we're exclusive, but also to the people that are coming, the public, the people who live in Door County, the people who are visiting, and it's our brand that's on the line. And I don't have the luxury of just being like, it's just whatever. I'll brew brats with this, or I'll put my chili. So, those questions, those like small mistakes, those small, like, it's not quite right, have really forced me to dive into, podcasts like this, websites, books, reaching out to other brewers and just asking questions like, why? I have no idea why this happened. And I've got this off flavor, or I've got, this issue. So I think it's because of that, it's been very exponential, because I feel a little bit more of an obligation, in the craft than I did when I was, brewing in my 80-degree garage.
Yeah, we could just pawn it off on dumbass neighbors. Here, take this, dude. Drink it. It's good. It's fine.
That was my my go-to. You go to a friend's house, you bring your shitty home brew, and you just leave it there.
Exactly. Oh, I forgot that. Just keep it. It's fine. No big deal.
In that
give it to your guest.
In that nondescript brown bottle, and they find it a couple weeks later, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And
what in the world?
They open it and frickin' like Mount Vesuvius, like all over their frickin' kitchen, and they're like,
Just be sure you give me the bottle back. I don't have unlimited bottles. So I want the bottle back.
When you're done drinking, I'll come get the bottle.
He mentioned reaching out to other brewers. How have you found, the other brewers, when you're reaching out for help, are they all just really accommodating? For the most part of the accommodating, there's some dicks out there. I mean, how has it been reaching out for help? I mean, technically it's a competitor, I guess.
You don't need to name names, but is there any?
But if you want to name names,
you can name names.
I'll be honest with you. I'm a pretty in tune guy with people, so I know that there are some breweries that it would be a waste of time to reach out to.
Yeah.
But my time in the Twin Cities, it's a very beer centric town area. Built a lot of great relationships. One being Excelsior Brewing Company out in Excelsior, Minnesota. Probably some of the nicest guys and gals I've ever dealt with, and I've spent a fair amount of time there. And that's where I went when I got into this venture. Those were the first people I called and said, "Hey, I need to be around bigger batches of beer and figure out what this is going to be like." And they were like, "Come on over," and I traded manual labor for sitting down after work for a couple of beers, just asking questions. So I think, for the most part, at least the people I've reached out to have been very accommodating. Around Door County, everybody in Door County has been awesome. Everybody in Door County has been awesome. And a handful of people I've reached out to in the Green Bay area, great. I just feel like, I think if you approach it the right way, you'll get the answers you need. You're not trying to steal industry secrets or recipes or anything like that. It's just like, hey, it's kind of an SOS, like, dude, something's going wrong and I need your help. And I think it's because we've all come from the same place. Essentially,
Right.
We've all come out, for the most part, we've all come out of our garages, and we're all at different phases of this thing. So,
yeah, that's one of the cool things I think about craft beer. Is of all the different brewers we've talked to, the sentiment's about the same. They're all willing to help out other brewers. They don't have a problem talking to other brewers, helping everybody out. And it's just kind of a cool thing within, what you would see as a competitor. You're still willing to help them out. And like you said, they all came from the same spot. They all started home brewing with homebrew kits or whatever, and they're all, just like you. They're started small and gotten bigger or whatever. So
for me, like you and Chad got me into sort of opened my eyes to what was out there for beer. And you hear a lot of times like, well, what sells craft beer? Well, it's the stories. It's the stories.
Right.
But what I found that I did not really expect, there's all these great flavors and this new sort of just palette of taste that I'm just so thoroughly enjoying. But my favorite thing is meeting people like you, Trent. And I love the beer community of people that are just, hey, we're just hanging out. We're just having good beer. We're talking about beer. We're talking about what it goes with. talk about where it comes from. Like, I don't even know if it's really the story for me, but I just love all the people.
Yeah.
Just so many awesome people connected with craft beer. So, yeah. And I didn't expect that starting out.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree. I appreciate that.
You didn't expect the feels.
Yeah.
All the feels.
All the, you know,
All the
like,
feels.
all the hugs, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I
Who knew
knew
you had a heart?
marketing the stories, but
Nobody knew you had a heart until this.
it warmed it.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
It was ice cold before.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, we have an opportunity here where you can actually come up to Door County and give Trent a nice big hug if you want.
I
because-
cannot wait to stop by and say hi to Trent. I will see you this summer.
Be careful.
Well,
Be careful.
we have
He
the
grabs
opportunity,
ass.
and
Be careful.
Trent's invited us to come up and have a brew day with him,
Oh boy.
where we can actually come up with a recipe that we want to brew, and we can brew it right there in his facility. We've never had this opportunity to work with.
I want chocolate. I want anchovies.
Any brewery.
I want olives. I want.
Don't listen to this guy.
Don't listen to me at all.
Do we have potential dates picked out? The sooner
We've talked
is it
about this.
still
Discussed
the
this
end of
so many
July.
times, Jake. We've done
The end
so
of
many
July
times.
when you go up there.
First weekend of August.
It doesn't matter. We'll talk about that off camera.
I will.
Anyway.
I will try.
No,
I will. I also have young children and awesome
We're in
wife.
the middle of an interview
A lot,
here.
yeah. So it gets hard, and that's my birthday is July 29th, and I know they're planning something. So
Nobody cares about.
I know you guys don't care.
Here's the deal. I don't know if you're
You guys can go.
I don't know if your families know each other very well, if you guys hang out as couples and families or not, but I've got a home here in Sturgeon Bay, and I've also got a cottage 10 minutes from my home that in the off season sits empty. So if it means you bringing your families up here and they all shack up at my cottage and they have a good time while you're brewing beer with me, we'll do that.
All right,
but I think it would be a really cool opportunity for the four of us to get together in the closet of a brewery that I have and allow you guys to kind of, work up your own recipe and we'll brew it, and I'll ferment it, and maybe you guys come up for a day and we tap it and we drink it out on the boat or wherever.
That would be
But, I think that's the beauty of our brewery and our space, is that it allows us that flexibility, and that's really what we're all about, is that collaboration and that fellowship of brewing. So I would love it if you guys could make it work, and you guys can decide what dates work for you, because the bottom line is I'm always here and I'm always available, and we'll find a place for you guys to stay and your families if that's what it takes for you to do it. Because I get it. I've got a family too. So sometimes things are a tall ask. But I think we would make it happen. I think it would make a good segment if we could kind of video some of it. And
that's what I'm saying. Just do a
All right.
part 2 follow up to this podcast.
First week in August. I will let you guys know. Give me a couple days.
You submit the paperwork, triplicate.
I will. I'm just gonna submit it as a family trip
Get those TPS reports in.
because it's just a lot to be like I'm gonna be gone for a few days brewing beer. So for me it is. Yeah.
You get it.
Well, it's we're getting towards the end here, Trent. So where can people find you?
Oh
Are
wait,
you
no, hold on. I have two questions for Trent.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Jake.
Trent, do you have question 1? Do you keep any domestic beer in your fridge that you drink? Any sort
This
of?
is kind of a wrap question. We like to ask people.
I do. Yep, absolutely. I'm a Miller Lite, Coors Light guy. I got both in my fridge right now, and I feel like domestic beer definitely has its place. It's my first go-to when I've got a fairly substantial yard and a very unsubstantial battery-powered lawnmower. So it inevitably stops 3/4 of the way through, so it gives me a chance to run and just pound a couple beers, and it's a Miller Lite or a Coors Light.
Mower's
And I'm a
charging.
Packer season ticket holder, so game days are all about Miller Lite for me.
What season ticket holder?
I'm a Green Bay Packer season
That's
ticket.
what I thought you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure those guys.
We
down in
all
Illinois
heard
that.
it.
Yeah,
We
we
all
heard it.
heard
It's
it.
fine.
We all
Nobody
heard
cares. Move on.
Absolutely.
And my other question, is there anything that, let's say, long week, a lot of brewing, tired, you feel like a drink, but you don't feel like beer. Is there anything else you'll reach for?
Yep, I'm a big bourbon guy.
Okay.
Love bourbon, but definitely seasonal bourbon guy. So fall, winter, spring bourbon. Otherwise, like before the podcast, I had a whiskey ginger ale with lime and lemon in it. So
nice. All right.
Definitely
good stuff.
Sounds yummy.
Getting to know.
Yeah.
Getting to know our buddy Trent. All right, Chad.
Oh, where can we find you on social media? Do you have I don't think you have a website, right? But you're
we own a domain, but not an active website. You can actually find a tab if you go to sunnyspizzeria.com or Sunny's. If you Google Sunny's, there is a brewery tab at their webpage. But we are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. At Bridge Up Brewing.
Awesome. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, we this has been a great experience for us and getting to know new people by doing these interviews. So
absolutely,
really enjoyed this. And yeah, you guys have any other questions?
As have I. I really appreciate the time, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Trent.
All right, hang out for a sec afterwards, Trent.
Okay, sounds good.
We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we're always gonna hang out.